Hello everybody, welcome back. It is Connor here in a bit of an unfamiliar environment. Yes, I have moved, believe it or not, but anyway, we're here to talk about Leeds United exiting the EFL Cup competition with a late loss. That's all you can describe it as, really, can't you? To Wolverhampton Wanderers. An unfortunate one for me. I know there's a lot of people talking about, and I see it in the comments already, not really bothered about cup competitions, but I still think, there is something in the cup competitions. And for me, just the side that he started with is maybe indicative of how lacking the squad is in quality and depth, in my personal opinion, and alongside that, maybe an understanding that the focus is going to be somewhere else. It's not going to be on progressing in the cup competitions this year, which I thought it was going to be at the start of the season when we were projecting maybe a sort of a 10th to 14th finish. I expect with sort of that, you're looking at maybe cup competitions and thinking, we'll give it a good go, but that starting lineup today, I was looking at it and thought, nah, we're just focusing on the league here, which I don't really know how to take that, to be honest with you, to take that in a good light, which is, I can understand why, as fans, we take that in a good light because the focus is all on the league. There's one huge importance here, and the EFL Cup and the FA Cup is merely a secondary consequence to that. However, I expected maybe a few different things this season. I thought a cup run was going to be that. I'd have quite enjoyed one. I'm just surmising a few of my thoughts on the game. Really impressed with Joel Robles. I know it's a small thing to say, really, and maybe you guys didn't pick up on it, or maybe you did pick up on it. Let me know exactly what you think. I'm going to get into your comments in just a little bit. But I thought it was magnificent in between the sticks there. I thought you could, I don't know what, I was watching it on a different stream, I'll put it that way. So you could actually hear him talking quite a lot. So there was clear, I know Sky and other broadcasters have mics around different parts of the ground. You could hear him; he was barking orders at the back line, and I thought he made a couple of decent saves as well. I thought his distribution on his right and his left, because Llorente kept playing it to his left foot, and that's Llorente in a nutshell. Football IQ not there. I thought was decent. I thought it was really decent. Quick shout out as well to Leo Yelder, who, when we're talking about a proper defender, this is why he is a proper defender, and let me just explain exactly why Leo Yelder fits this system and is a really decent centre-back. I've always really liked him on that left-hand side of a centre-back partnership, and the reason behind that, everybody, is you'll have seen it in the first and second half. He gets the ball and he runs with it. He bypasses a press. What we have consistently in this Leeds United rank when it comes to defenders are defenders who shit themselves when a press comes towards them. So what they do naturally is they turn back to Ilan Meslier, or in this instance it was Joel Robles, or they boot it upfield because they can't handle the press because they're not good enough. Leo Yelder proved today against good opposition, because the Wolves lineup was stronger than Leeds is today, that he can bypass the press and he can be effective. And a lot of when his movements were from the defence into midfield, it was breaking down with players like Joe Gelhardt and Matteo Joseph, who I thought had a decent game as well. So overall, really impressed with Leo Yelder as well. Matteo Joseph, I know we've just spoken about him there. Or Joseph, I should say. A few nice touches. I thought he lost in transitional moments when Leeds were breaking. I thought there was a couple of times where he lost possession, and you can tell he's extremely raw. Perkins, I think, around good players, I think Perkins is going to be a right player. I really, really like him. I really like what I saw from Sonny Perkins. I think he's slick. I love the fact that he can open his body up, take it on his right, take it on his left. Good at linking up play. And I know for the under-21s, he can actually play where Jack Harrison was playing, and he cuts in a little bit onto his left, similarly to what Jack Harrison was doing. But I think he could take up the number 9 slot as well consistently, maybe in and around Patrick Bamford. Thought he was really, really impressive. I liked a lot of what I saw with him, and you can see he could be a bit of a killer. But overall, I've written a few notes down, everyone, and we'll get into it in a little bit. I'm not going to be on for long, so make sure. I've not streamed in a while. I'm in the new gaff. I'm going to have to sort everything out here. So make sure you're liking the video. I really appreciate it. Let me just get into a few of your comments. Just seeing this straight away. Jack Badley, wasteful. Tashin, man. Gelhardt is overrated. 1 FA Cup and 1 League Cup in entire history. Never a cup team. Leeds, Connor. Harrison, a lot. The thing is, guys, as well with Harrison is, I've seen a lot of this and I understand it, and you guys know what I'm like, and I've been consistent with Jack Harrison for the best part of 2 years now, and I think he's at a real downturn at the minute. But why is he playing him on the right? Why is he playing him on the right? The whole cutting in and knocking it in with your left foot, it just isn't working. It isn't working in the Premier League. It doesn't work in the EFL Cup competition. Sinisterra's not a problem. Somerville's not even a problem now because, you know, they're not going to be occupying that left-hand side. Why would you not stick Jack Harrison on the left? It wasn't working in the first half, and this is where I didn't understand what Marsh is doing. And I'm not going to say again, but there are some things which I don't understand. If you've come into a club and you can see this one player is overperforming for this club and he's been good for this club for a huge period under the predecessor, why would you not stick him in his favoured position? Even if he is an inverted winger, on that left-hand side, surely that would be more beneficial for Leeds United and would help us a lot more in those phases. Because what happens, everybody, when he's on the wrong side, he slows down. So in those transitional movements, when Leeds are counter-attacking, if you're running towards goal on your unfavoured side at speed, you're going to get caught up. Whereas if you're on your favoured side running at speed, it's going to be much more beneficial for you because you can keep the ball under control. You know, it's a perfect balance when you're running on your favoured side. He doesn't do it. He keeps him on the right. It's not working on the right. I think Aït-Nouri had his number, to be honest, today. And that's where I'm talking about the pragmatism. Why didn't he put him over to the left? We're all calling for it at half-time. Joe Gelhardt, I would have actually loved to have seen him on the right. He's not a number 9. I know we've all called for it, but I personally have called for it before with another forward. I've always thought with another forward, maybe it'd be a little bit supplementary to him, or complementary, I should say, little and large, going old school, Alan Smith and Viduka-esque. But I just think maybe a fully fit Bamford or whatever will be able to benefit Joffy's play really well in that 4-2-2-2 system. It's never going to work. We're never going to see it. I don't think Bamford will ever get to those levels again. And I think Gelhardt, as he went off again injured, it's the dependability, everybody. It's the reliability of players like Patrick Bamford, of players like Joe Gelhardt. This is becoming a reoccurring theme now. The dependability of these players is just non-existent because they're always injured. And when they come back, they're rusty and then they'll get injured again. You know, Patrick Bamford was injured for taking a penalty in training. I mean, this is. And we've heard the 49ers news today. Everyone, I'm going to do a separate video on that. And I just think in January, it's so evident today because I just thought to myself, even just bringing a little bit of depth for the bench, Jesse. You know, bringing a little bit of depth where you saw what Wolves did. What did Wolves do? They brought Podence on. What did Podence do? Got the assist, changed the game. I thought Wolves had a real momentum when he came on because he was that added quality. But the bench was like, Jesse didn't even bring one of the, you know, even just the senior players to break it up a little bit. I didn't really understand that, to be quite honest with you. But let me just get into a few of your comments, everyone. Good performance tonight. Just knowing product. Harrison has to do better. Not good enough. Honestly, think a cup run would have really tampered with our Premier League performance. Would have loved to won myself, but we don't have the squad legs for it. Completely agree, mate. Coop, sell on. Coop won't play him, mate. Carl says Llorente is absolutely awful. How this bloke gets in our squad is beyond me. I can't disagree, mate. I mean, that's what I'm saying. You look at Yelda and how brilliant he was in terms of progressing the ball, in terms of winning his individual battles with Hwang. Hwang actually moved on to Llorente in the first half because he was getting no change out of Yelda. He moved on to Llorente. And then he moved on to Llorente, and suddenly Llorente's erratic again. He's diving in. He's been knocked off balance by Hwang. Yelda gets on him, and Hwang's quiet. And the age difference between those two, the quality difference as well. I will say as well though tonight, everyone, and this is what I try to do on this channel because some people will come for me and just be like, I've got agendas, I'm biased. I'm not biased. I don't have an agenda. I want Leeds United to do well. And what I will say today is I thought Junior Firpo was good. I thought by his standards that was world class. By his standards. Listen to what I'm saying. By his standards. By our standards, it was an okay performance that. I thought it was an okay performance. I don't think Adama Traore did much. I mean, he is up against Adama Traore here. But I think you've got to give him his due for this one. I thought it was all right. Llorente, once again, an absolute bomb scare. We've not seen a good performance from this guy in about 18 months now. Don't know why he still plays for the club. I don't. And it's a horrible thing to say. And I never really say stuff like that. I don't. And I always say, like, I'm sure he's a nice guy. But I just cannot understand how he's a footballer in the Premier League. And this is the thing. And what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to discuss when I was on the overlap. And I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I'm going to put a clip on One Leeds tomorrow of just Gary and Gary Neville and Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher talking about the back line, and it was just interesting how they specifically focused in on Leeds' back line when we were talking about the quality of the squad. And they say, that's 2 defenders. Whatever you might think of Carragher, whatever you might think of Neville, they said when they'll watch, and I spoke to them off air as well, just had a little chat with them. They said when you watch Leeds United's back 4, it is absolutely atrocious. It's vulnerable and it is naive. Now, when you're getting observers and other teams looking at that, then other teams are going to focus in on that. The staff, the intelligence, players in and around players, not just players, but the technical staff in and around the club are going to focus on that when it comes to Leeds United. How you've got someone like Diego Llorente and even Junior Firpo at the club is just baffling. Even though Firpo did well today, Ayling, I thought he was okay. He was okay. But yeah, he's not it for me. It's just my personal point of view. I think we've literally got, in my opinion, we've got Liam Cooper, who's okay, maybe from my perspective, 50%, 55% of the time he's okay in the Premier League. But I think aside from that, you've literally got, I think Robin's doing okay, but I don't think he's at the level of Strauch. And I think Strauch and Yelder, in terms of potential, are top. I think they're brilliant. I really, really like them. But the rest, just not for me. I don't think, there's a lack of quality, a real lack of quality at the back for Leeds United. And do you know what, everyone? You can tell when they're building up. They get the ball. It's a simple press from Wolves. Just a simple press, a simple 5 yards up the pitch, which they did at the start of the second half. And all they do is go back to Robles. That's all they do, because unlike Yelder, they can't bypass the press. They don't have the quality to be able to do it. And that can be Ayling, that can be Firpo, that can be Llorente. Just goes straight out or the hoof up the pitch. I actually thought Ayling was a little bit better in that respect in trying to turn in terms of linking up play, and I didn't think he had any help with Jack Harrison. I'll just go back to Jack Harrison a little bit, everyone, because what I've done there is I've said that Jesse Marsch needed to change. I've never liked this with Jack. He does it a lot when he misses a chance, and you'll all notice it because I've gone on about it before. He goes like this, and he makes it abundantly evident that his confidence is on the floor. Abundantly evident. And it almost like it gets in his head for the next 10 to 15 minutes. And I've always said with Jack Harrison, he's a confidence player, a real confidence player, and that's why he clusters. That is exactly why he clusters, and he stat pads in certain months. You might get 4 goals in 7, and then you won't see anything else from him in terms of goal contributions for the next 6 or 7 games, which is what we're seeing now. But I do think in terms of his personal standards as well, I'm really surprised by how bad it's got. And I think a lot of it is to do with the system, but I think a lot of it is to do with decision making, and the simple ball is on a lot of the time for Jack. The ball gets muddled in between his feet as well consistently. We saw that today. That's not to do with Jesse Marsch. So I think he is going through a real run of bad form. So I can't be too critical of the team tonight. I think we have good young players. It's players like Harrison, Click, Llorente we have to be looking at tonight. Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I've seen a lot of need to move him on in terms of Jack Harrison. Missed opportunity, Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham, and potentially Liverpool out 2 on pens. Should have played a stronger side, really. I can't disagree with that, to be honest. I can't disagree. Bully B says, sat on the coach. I presume you're at the game, mate. Shout out to you. Jack Harrison is SHIT. Kim Barnes in the building says, Click, Llorente, Firpo, and Harrison have to be sold. We've said this, Kim. You get battered on here because a lot of them, it's Clicky, innit? He's one of the promotion boys. So there's a large percentage of the fan base who cannot stand it when you're out any of the promotion boys. We're not Sentiment FC. We're not Family Vibes Football Club. We're Leeds United. We're a Premier League club. Some of these players, I mentioned it in a video the other day, and I'd be looking at a lot of them. You guys know with me, it'd be a big clear out for me. And a lot of people turn around to that, and me and Brownie have had chats about this and said, it's got to be transitional. It's got to be in stages, really, because then you lose leaders. And whilst I agree with that, but if that's okay, and that's a separate issue. But if you're not good enough, you're not in the Premier League. Simple. You don't just stay in this Leeds United side because you've been here a while and you're one of the boys. It's going to be transitional. You have to be good enough to be in the Premier League. When you're called upon as a depth option, you have to be good enough. Now, I'm not going on and talking about how overly critical I am of this, because I'm not. I actually thought for the large part of it there was some good build-up phases. As I said, really like what I saw from Robles, Yelder, Firpo had a better night, Ayling was all right. I thought JB started well, then he faded. Click was anonymous. Harrison was what Harrison's been for the last 8 games, completely anonymous. Gelhardt is not a number 9, we all know that, but the club still seem to think we've got the best young number 9 in the country, probably in Europe, probably in the world, according to that lot. And really, for the whole game, you're clamouring for someone like Willie Gnonto to come on, who's an 18-year-old lad, who's he's not made a senior debut for Leeds United yet. So this is what we're relying on right now, and this is the problem when it comes to depth. And this is something that we simply have to sort in the January transfer window. We're hearing rumours today about Leeds looking at certain personnel. If they do not move in January, there is going to be huge problems and huge ramifications for this side. But overall tonight, for an isolated fixture, I'm not too displeased. I'm displeased in a sense of the manager not doing simple tweaks in the game, which I thought would have changed the game at points because Wolves were there to be taken. And I'm really disappointed in the manager in a sense for not bringing quality options on the bench. And I think that's naive because all Wolves did, they started with a stronger side than us, don't get me wrong. However, Wolves brought on Daniel Podence. That was it. In the 78th minute? 78th minute, brought him on, and he just had that little cutback that he played to Kamara was exceptional. Took 3 Leeds players out of the game, bang, goal. That's what you need, that added quality. Wolves have lost 3 out of 4 games at home. I don't care if it's a cup competition. They've lost 3 games in 4. They don't score goals. And for Leeds to go there and lose, it doesn't look great for me. It doesn't look great, even though it is a cup competition. I'd maybe disagree on the fact that I wouldn't have... I understand that people wanted to go out and we should have focused on the Premier League. But for me, if you invest in the summer months and you bring in more depth, like we all knew had to happen, then these cup competitions are much more attainable, much more achievable because you have squad depth, you have quality in depth. The problem is we don't have quality in depth, we don't have enough players, so we can't field an abundance of decent, half-decent quality, really. And that's no disrespect to the lads who are on the pitch tonight, but decent Premier League quality in a game against Wolves. I mean, they don't have a lot of depth, and they were still able to field players who we all recognised a little bit, you know? Pellegrino says, no, Conor Firpo was not good. Fair enough, it's opinions, innit? It was his 1 metre pass on the touchline to his teammates who was surrounded by 3 Wolves players that started their attacking goal. He lacks football intelligence. I can't disagree, Pellegrino, but I know Sam Greenwood at the minute is everybody's favourite because he did wonders for us at the weekend, but that was Sam Greenwood's fault. The goal was Sam Greenwood's fault. He had an opportunity in the first phase of play to pass the ball. He mucked that up. I don't know if it was Kilman or Matinho nicked the ball off him. Leeds then got the ball back, played it back to Sam Greenwood. Simple pass was on that left-hand side. Tried to turn in again. Got too complicated. Got a little bit maybe too confident on the ball. Turned into trouble again. Wolves broke. If Sam Greenwood in those 2 phases of play just releases the ball quicker, that's it. For me, that's a direct error that leads to the goal. I don't think you can blame Junior Firpo for that. That's my opinion. I think that came from Sam Greenwood for me. Joe says should have sold Harrison to Newcastle. Said at the time too inconsistent. I feel like I've said this for a while. JC, hope the move went well. It did, mate. Thank you. Dale says Wolves first team versus Leeds reserves. Yeah, Dale, I'm not coming on here and I'm not coming on here and you know, slamming any of the kids. I think the kids did really well. And that's what I want everyone to take from this video. I think Robles, even included in that, really solid performance from him. But I wanted to go a bit further in the competition. And you'll get Brownie saying the exact same. I want to go further in these competitions. And why can we not? You know, real opportunity. A lot of big teams knocked out tonight. And if we just had a little bit of depth on the bench, I know I keep talking about us not having that depth, but we do. We have a player or two that we could stick on the bench and bring to Wolverhampton Wanderers tonight. As I say, Daniel Podence being Wolves' perfect example. And yeah, I thought they stood up well. But you know, to lose the game in the 84th minute, I think is very disappointing. And I'm not one of those fans to just be like, it doesn't matter, we're out the cup. Well, we can focus on the league now, because I think cup competitions build momentum as well. I do think they build momentum. I think you've seen that with Leeds United sides in the past. So yeah, I am disappointed to go out tonight. And I'd like to see a cup run for the first time in about 40 years, everybody. Not that I've been alive for 40 years, believe it or not. But I'd like to see a cup run for once in my life. All I've got is Jermaine Beckford that I cling on to. We just don't do it. And it always does feel like in the past 20, 25 years, it's been because of the lack of quality, which comes down to squad depth as well. I'm glad we're out, mate. Fair enough, Joss. Fair enough. Harrison has been poor on the left. He's even worse on the right. Yeah, I think that's a good point. I'd sell Jack on this form. Jack was awful. Yeah, all I want, guys, is I want everybody to stay consistent with this. I want everybody to stay consistent with it because these are some big claims I'm seeing. Jack, I want Jack sold. I want Jack this, that, and the other. If he scores a couple of goals in the next game, don't be coming back to me and saying how amazing he is. You got to stick with it. Honestly, this social media and YouTube game is unforgiving. It really is unforgiving. You got to stick to your principles. Paul says, absolute joke of a team selection. Don't get some of our fans' mindset. We're just happy with winning F4 over 30. That's it, Paul. I mean, I'm not having a go at the fans, and I'm not. Other people want different things, and I understand that. But I guess if you didn't want a run in the cup competition, you are facing the facts that we're in a relegation battle. And maybe you're not confident that we're going to finish higher up the table, because surely if you're confident that we're going to finish higher up the table, then Leeds are all equipped to have a cup run. Because from my perspective, if you're fighting relegation, you don't want a cup run. So that's clearly where a lot of fans' mindsets are, which is interesting. That's what I'm looking at this comment section and thinking. And do you know what? I don't disagree with it. I would have liked a cup run. And this is what I keep saying, but realistically, is it something that Leeds need right now? That can be a question you guys answer. It really can. It's a tough predicament we're in at the minute. Because I think we are fully in a relegation battle, and I know you guys will you'll go at me for that, and you'll think I'm overreacting because of this. I'm not. I've just not spoken to you for like 3 or 4 days now, maybe, and I think we're still fully in it. Even though we've got 2 wins in 2, which is fantastic, I think more needs to be done in January. And if it gets done in January, I'm really, really excited for the season coming, because if we get 3 players in January, I'm more than happy. So that's not negative, because I'm saying we can sort the problem. We can still sort it. But I think you saw tonight, once again, Jesse didn't want to risk the quality in the squad. And when you look behind the lack of quality we have, there's just nothing there really. And when I say lack of quality, it's like, how many players are of real proper Premier League caliber at Leeds, proper players. You could probably name them on one hand. So after that, it's just kids, isn't it? So Rob has also impressed me. Yeah. Click jogging back, where, I mean, the thing is, Demar, what do we expect, mate? What do we expect? You see this from Click all the time, but he progresses the ball, apparently, even though I never see that. Guido says, a good point, Connor, but I wouldn't have risked injuries, not enough depth. And that's exactly it, Guido. And I keep saying the same thing, mate, and I'm sure everyone's bored of hearing me saying it. But it's just the fact that we've not invested enough, and we haven't elevated that squad depth over the seasons, have we? We've not done it. So if we'd have elevated that squad depth and got rid of some of the deadwood that we still have on the books in 2022, we'd be in a much stronger position when it comes to cup competitions and being able to field decent opposition. So yeah, a shame tonight, because I thought they were awful. But it just signified to me that they are 2 teams who are going to be fighting out near the bottom for me, Wolves and Leeds. Not enough going forward. And I think that's the problem with a lot of Premier League teams who are fighting out the bottom. They don't have a goal scorer, and Leeds don't. I am not having Rodrigo as a goal scorer. I'm not. 7 goals in 13 matches, fair enough. If he scores, someone said to me the other day that if he plays 38 games at this rate, he's going to score 21 goals. I believe it when I see it. I think from open play, he really struggles, and I think we lose a lot when it comes to Rodrigo up top in terms of linking play, in terms of pressing, tracking back. I think we lose a hell of a lot. So I'm not convinced on this Rodrigo argument. And as I've said to you guys before, when it's come to Jack Harrison before, there is context behind the stats. There is context behind Rodrigo's stats. It's not all just about that numerical value. It's everything else he brings to that Leeds United side. And the problem is with Rodrigo, just on a side note here, is he's the only comparison we have to Patrick Bamford. Hence why we miss Patrick Bamford so much. If we had anyone of the similarities of someone who could hold the ball up, who could link up play, who could score goals, who could get assists. We're not talking about billions here, but we're just talking about goals that will keep Leeds in the Premier League. We wouldn't be talking about Patrick Bamford or Rodrigo as much. We really wouldn't. Because I genuinely believe both of those players are hyped up way too much. That's just my thoughts. And I don't actually know if either would have made a difference tonight. Maybe Bamford, but would he have been on the pitch for the entire 90 minutes? Probably not. JB was a huge disappointment. I don't know, Scott. I thought he started. I probably agree with Jay here. JB was quality faded a little bit later on. Some nice ball progressions. He beat his man a couple of times, which I quite like. You've got to bear in mind, Scott. They're just kids, mate. They're kids, and we just shouldn't be reliant. If old enough, good enough, fair enough. But all those lads are the natural film line behind a very, very thin squad. They're the next boys coming in, because we don't have that Premier League quality depth. So those boys, the youngsters who you saw today, are the next in line. So what do you do? What do you do, really? I'd like to see Yelder get a run at left-back in the league, move Strauch alongside Cock at centre-back, move Cooper to the bench. Robert, I wouldn't mind that. I do really like Yelder. I'm a massive fan of him. Spoken to a few, well, not a few actually, maybe one in particular, lad at Celtic, and they absolutely thought he was a player. They really did. When they loaned him out to Ross County, there were glowing reports. Might try to get an interview with him, actually, to be fair, if Leo does start progressing and getting more minutes. But yeah, I heard a lot of good things about him. So yeah, when I was watching him tonight, ball progression, fantastic, strong. And I thought Wang had a problem against him, hence why he moved on to the old boy Llorente, the bomb scare. That's why he moved on to him, because he's not good enough. And intelligent strikers, I'm not saying he's a prolific striker because he's not, but he's an intelligent striker because that's what he did. They move on to the weak links. Which Llorente unfortunately is, and he's still starting in the Premier League. I'd agree with you, mate. 7 goals for Rodrigo is so generous. Penalties and tap-ins, I'd 100% agree with that. I just think, I mean, if you had that link-up play, bloody hell, we'd be talking about a different thing, but yeah. Tipsy Adonis says, is it just the Leeds echo chamber I'm in, or are we the most injury-prone squad in the league? Feel like we've fielded our actual strongest 11 in about 2 years. I think it's honestly, Tipsy, I think it's the echo chamber, mate, because other squads get injuries. The difference is, other squads actually do Premier League things like bring in players and evolve squads year on year on year, and don't leave gaps out. Now, I know some Premier League clubs do that, but notoriously, some of those Premier League clubs that we may think of as not bringing in depth year in, year out, have been in the Premier League that long, they've been able to stack up the depth anyway. An example would probably be Wolves tonight. You know what I mean? They're able to stack up that depth because of the length they've been in the Premier League. They had players maybe per transfer window, 2 or 3 players every single time. That builds up your quality and depth. Whereas Leeds United, what we did last summer was bring in Dan James and Junior Firpo, who really, for me, are surplus to requirements, and then Klaassen. So we missed out an entire window. The windows before that were a joke, as they were. The one where we came into the Premier League was a decent one, but that's probably the only time really that we've had a half-decent window in the best part of 5 or 6 years. So, I mean, that's 12, 13 transfer windows. So that's what I mean. Premier League clubs develop and develop and develop. Will we do it in January? We need to. And that's not just for our cup safety, but it's for our Premier League safety as well, because there are going to be more injuries within this squad. So I do think it's an echo chamber because I think other clubs get injuries, but I think it feels like an echo chamber a little bit more because we've just not got that quality and depth to keep our head, to think to ourselves, we're okay in that department. Don't forget to hit the like. 200 likes. Let's get the channel up. Yeah, really appreciate that, Jay. Guys, if you are about to leave, I am doing this on my break at work. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go back to work now. But I really appreciate you being here. Make sure you come back and like the video. You've yet proved themselves today, Connor. Older players prove how bad they are. Yeah, except Robles. Yeah, I agree. Jay Miles, he says, would you recall Cresswell in January? That's the thing, Jay. That's not the answer, mate. It's not the answer. It's not this is the whole argument, mate. The Premier League mentality is to go out and buy a centre back who, if you're thinking maybe our recovery rates of our centre backs and maybe little parts of our centre-back pairing isn't quite there, you go out and you buy a centre-back. I understand that you have to be the club to progress youth, but Cresswell probably needs another loan, and then maybe another loan again. Look at Ben White. You know, Ben White had about three loan spells, and then he two loan spells. Then he came to Leeds United. Then obviously he did what he did with us. Cresswell's going to need that development as well. You can't just recall him and shove him back into the first team because we don't have good enough centre backs. You've got to go out and buy a centre backs. That's what big clubs do. That's what Premier League clubs do. We just rely on kids. And it's so thinly spread sometimes, and that's where Leeds really need to start acting like a big club again. Because we've not done that for years. It's all or nothing on the youth and the experienced players that we have, and there are too many gaps for me. But no, I wouldn't. In answer to your question, mate, I don't think he's Premier League ready. I really don't. But yeah. Nice comment from Jack here. You're really not complaining, are you? We play kids, you effing. Yeah, good lad, Jack. Hey, he's come all the way over here to start calling names. Jack, you just turned up, mate. You haven't watched the video, so make sure you go back and actually watch the video. And get your profile picture on, lad, and we'll see what you look like. Oh, God, you get them all over here. Watch the video, then come in and complain, will you, mate? But yeah, no, I'm not complaining at all. We're just talking about general aspects of this Leeds United side. I'm actually very, very happy with what I saw tonight from certain individuals. The experienced heads have been the big letdown, hence why we really need to have discussions about the problems in this Leeds United side, because the experienced heads are the ones that are playing week in, week out. The experienced heads are going to be letting us down going forward if we keep seeing performances like that from certain individuals. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. Really appreciate all your support. All your support as well. You get a few absolute you-know-whats like him, but everybody else, I really appreciate your comment. Listen, you want to get your comments in and just chat about Leeds United, I'll flag them up. Even if you disagree with me, I don't care. That's what this channel's all about. It's a forum, but don't come in like him and just abuse even people on the chat, because I'll just get rid of it. I'm not here for that sort of stuff. So listen, really appreciate your time. Have a good evening. Leeds are out of the cup, but still 2 wins in 2, I guess, and we've got Spurs. So let's hope we can go to Spurs. They're a big 6 side. We've been playing well against the big 6 sides, so let's hope we can apply that press and get a result there. Guys, have a lovely evening, and if you want to check out some extra content, that'll be on the Patreon. We're going to have the overlap stuff on tomorrow, and we're going to be discussing just a few bits with Jesse Marsh, which I want to do as well. Guys, have a good one, and I'll see you in a bit. Cheers.